Careful now. The same one they call the boogeyman. And you know, as I analyze my own career, I started radio in 1975, and it has been most inspirational for me. Anyone? Hey, Khaled, you're rapping about Barry G. Barry G, the one, yeah.
You just heard the voice of the late Barrington Seymour Gordon, popularly known as the Boogeyman, an iconic broadcaster out of Jamaica. This morning, we're very pleased to welcome to the Big Story segment of the Richie B. Morning Show a gentleman who himself is an iconic broadcaster out of the United Kingdom, and one who has become well known, in fact, for several clashes that he had and collaborations in terms of work with Barry G. David Rodigan is my guest at this time. David, we're deeply saddened by the passing of legendary broadcaster Barry G. You and Barry shared the stage in some of the most memorable musical clashes in the United Kingdom, in Jamaica, and the world over. Today we'd like to hear your thoughts, your memories, and reflections on his life and contribution to Jamaican music. Good morning and welcome to the Richie B. Morning Show. David, how are you?
Good morning, Richie. Well, like all of us, saddened by the loss of, as you rightly described, Jamaica's most iconic broadcaster. He was a colossus, a true colossus in broadcasting history, not just in Jamaica but worldwide. That distinctive voice, that style of broadcasting, the way he was able to hold his audiences. And you know and I know the secret of broadcasting, especially in terms of the business angle, is how long do listeners stay tuned in for. Right. Barry G had a knack and a way of keeping his audience on the tip of their toes, waiting to hear the next anecdote, the next story, the next payback. He was a master of that. But more importantly than anything else, and I think you'll agree with me, Richie, yes, was his passionate love of the people of Jamaica with whom he communicated with on a daily basis, and his passionate love for the music of Jamaica. Mm-hmm. He was truly a phenomenon, because when I first met him in 1983, I already knew all about this man. He was being talked about in England as though he was a recording artist. Spar with me, I'll show you Barry G from Rankin Toyan.
Yes.
I'm laughing now because if he was with us, Richie, he'd be laughing too.
Yes, certainly.
Because he had a great sense of humor, a great joy in life and what life gave to us. And a lovely little clip that you just played of him describing what it was like for him as a young broadcaster in 1975. I believe he started as the man on the street, your roving reporter. Mm-hmm. And of course, his love of radio was reflected in everything that he did. But I'm laughing now because so many memories have been flooding back into my heart and soul since last night when I heard the news about Barry. Because, as I say, when I first went to Jamaica, excuse me,
no worries.
Getting a bit upset. When I first went to Jamaica, I went to JBC Radio 1 to do an interview with a number of recording stars, and I took the opportunity to locate Barry Gordon and invite him onto my show. We recorded this at JBC Radio 1. This was a broadcast back in London, and of course Barry was on the radio there. Mm-hmm. And we immediately hit it off. So he gave me the news about what was happening in Jamaica, and he gave me the Jamaican top 10 countdown for that week. And he then said at the end of the interview, "Allow me to reciprocate, please, David. Would you come on my show on Saturday night?" Now, Richie, you know as well as I do, and all Jamaica knows, that on a Saturday night, back in the 80s, Barry G's show was truly amazing because it was non-stop Jamaican music, whether it was Rocksteady or Channel 1 or Rockers or Studio One. He absolutely wrapped it all up, hour after hour. And when I first went to Jamaica, I thought, this is phenomenal. This is amazing. Yeah. So I was spellbound from then. Mm. He said, "Please come on my show this Saturday night at 8 o'clock. And Richie, I'll never forget this as long as I live. I arrived early, of course, waiting for the radio show to begin. He welcomed me, and during the news, he turned to me in the studio, and in those days you had an operator, and the broadcasters, the DJs, were on the other side of the glass.
Right.
He turned to me, he said, "Mr. Rodigan, Jamaicans love contests, you know." And it's that tone of voice. I'm trying to do Jamaican accent. I said, "Oh, really? Yes. Mr. Rodigan, me and you go clash, you know." And I said, I'm sorry. Yeah, man, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. When I play one, you have to counteract. And that moment in time was the beginning of what we now know to be those legendary, without sounding too pompous, Richie, legendary radio clashes. And it started at 8 o'clock that night. And the funny thing was that I think he thought, in fact I know he thought, that he would give me a warm time, which in theory, of course, he should do, because he's a Jamaican broadcaster, I'm in Jamaica. But what Barry didn't realize, and what millions of Jamaicans worldwide didn't realize, is that the music of Jamaica was, to a large extent, recorded in Jamaica, but not released in Jamaica. Mm-hmm. It was exported to New York, to Canada, to England, to British record companies who were releasing the songs of Jamaica abroad. And so consequently, some of the songs that I was pulling out of my bag on English labels, he was like, "But what's this?" He couldn't get over it.
Yes.
And that gave me an edge that night, Richie, because I didn't realize that some of these songs hadn't been released in Jamaica. So there was the irony, and the evening progressed. It was supposed to be an hour. Richie, at midnight,
it went
Barry
for several hours.
I was still...
Oh yes, it did. Can you, David? Can you like share even one clash that stands out in your memory, and why in particular? Why that clash in particular is so special?
All I'm going to say before I even begin to speak is I'm going to do an illustrated instrumentation.
Sling ting.
The sling ting. Yes. It was referred to, Richie, in years to come after we'd done it as the sling ting clash.
Yes.
It was 1985. Sling ting was this exciting new rhythm which had taken over Jamaican dancehalls and culture. And Barry G and I had gone and got dub plates with various artists on this rhythm. And I think to this day, the sling ting clash of 85 was probably the most exciting. Why? Because by then, 2 years after the first clash, we were on top of our game. We were going to the trouble of going to the studios. I'd go to Jammies and I'd see Barry G come out the other door. I'd go to Tubby's and they say, "Oh, there's no dub plates left because Barry G's cut them off." And so I'm laughing because that's how it was. And it was so exciting. And how about this for a story? The operators, the radio engineers would actually queue up to have a go at being the operator.
Really?
They would turn up. Yeah, there'd be 2 or 3 operators. "Oh, my turn now. Let me have a go." Because they queued up the records, and Barry G and I were running around and feeding them and running back again.
Okay.
It was hilarious. It was exciting.
Yes.
And of course, I have to say at this point, Richie, that were it not for Barry G and those early days, my career as a radio broadcaster in Jamaica would never have been what it has become. And it is thanks to Barry G more than anybody else. I say that with all due respect to you as a fellow broadcaster, Richie. Yes. But Barry G enabled me to become known to Jamaicans in a way that I could never have become known.
Mm-hmm. What a high point of this conversation. David, were there any moments during your clashes together with Barry G that surprised you or showed you another side of the man? Even, for instance, when you obviously had the ascendancy and more support based on what you were playing. Was another side of him exposed at all?
He was a master craftsman. In a clash, you could not counteract Barry G for lyrics. He had lyrics. So even when a couple of times, you know, in any clash, you're going to find yourself cornered or in a hot spot. Where do you go? Which route do you go down?
Yes.
He was the master for getting out of a hot spot in terms of what he had to say or what he had to play. Remember, his record box was deep and his knowledge of Jamaican music was even deeper. So he knew what he was talking about. As somebody once said, you can get so far with a smile and a shoe shine, but after 10 minutes, you better know something, mister. Well, Barry G knew everything there was to know about Jamaican music. So, dances in New York, clashes in Miami. We did many all over the place, in Europe as well. It was so exciting, and here in the UK, because there would be times I'm thinking, nope, he's got me again. He's counteracted. He's taken the Studio One rhythm. He's played another cut that I forgot existed. I play a Johnny Osborne. He plays a better Johnny Osborne. His head was always ahead of the game. He was a fast thinker. And, of course, his passion for the music knew no bounds. Mm-hmm. So on more than one occasion, I was up against the wall. The most notable time was at Lucy on the Rocks. That was the year, that was one of the clashes where I got buried alive by Barry G. Why? Because in the afternoon, I'd gone to Jammies and I'd seen he was there, and he was polite. We had chat. And then I noticed that Josie Wales was also there. And Josie was like a bit sort of reserved towards me. Yes. Yeah, what, David? And I didn't think anything of it until that night on the Rocks at Lucy. And we're deep in the clash. And Barry G turned and smiled and said, Rodigan, you ready for this? David, Michael Rodigan, you ready for this? You know the way. And he queued up a dub plate from Josie Wales. And it was on the Panani rhythm, yes. And it went like this: Run, Rodigan, run, the boogie man a come, the boogie man a come. Rodigan, you did tonight. And Richie, the whole
that was it.
Turned over. No, man, I was dead.
Oh, gosh.
I couldn't rally back from that. And Barry G smiled, laughed. And there's another story as well, and it's actually up on video. It's been viewed thousands of times.
Tell us.
It's me, him, and Rory that dance in Ontario, in Canada. Mm-hmm. And I play the Ring the Alarm. That was the dub that I cut for the big clash that we did, the first ever international clash that we did in December 1985 at the Biltmore Ballroom. It was, not the Biltmore Ballroom, the Brooklyn Empire, and it was rammed. And I cut that dub for it. And it went down the storm. Remember, it was tenor soul, but it wasn't against either of us. It was a reflection of what we were doing as broadcasters. Mm-hmm. So when I played that same dub in that dance in Toronto, what did Barry G do? He counteracted it with the original Ring the Arm on vinyl by tenor soul on the Starlag rhythm and done the place.
Clever.
There's an example of a master craftsman.
Yes.
Having just had a tenor soul dub played on him, he counteracts with vinyl and gets a bigger forward.
My
that
goodness.
was Barry G.
Great stuff. Wonderful reflections. David, what do you think Barry G's legacy will be, especially for upcoming broadcasters and selectors?
To be passionate about what you believe in and to do it with complete and utter conviction. Do not cut corners. Always apply yourself. Never, ever take the short route. Always pay attention to detail. He who fails to prepare, prepares for failure. That was Barry's secret. And have a good team with you. People who you trust. People who you will encourage. When I worked with him at Mellow FM, it was the same thing. He inspired his team. Well, I didn't work with him. I visited him at Mellow FM in 2018. Mm-hmm. And he inspired his team. They admired him. They loved him. You get that love from your team if you treat them well and if what you do counts, what you do is important, that you care about the music you play, what you're saying, what you're endorsing. And by not playing certain songs, which are unacceptable to a normal person, you're also endorsing what you believe in. And Barry G was a fervent, passionate lover of his own country. He often spoke so highly of Jamaica. And I always remember him saying, the only person that ever stood up to America was Michael Manley. It was that love and his knowledge and history of Jamaica. Mm-hmm. That was something to behold. So his legacy is that you should, if you want to become a broadcaster, concentrate on being a broadcaster, talking to the people. It doesn't matter. Richie, I couldn't mix a cake. I can hardly mix a cup of tea. Mixing is of no importance to me. That is a skill I tried and I couldn't acquire. Not important. If you're a broadcaster, you are You are a broadcaster. You need to become a companion to your listeners.
Mm-hmm.
That is what you should do, and you should do it well. Just
Absolutely.
like you do, Richie.
Thank
That's
you.
why you're still on the radio. And I'm not patronizing you,
No.
because you have a unique voice, and that's why you've been on Jamaican radio, and you're a household name in Jamaica, because of the way you talk to your listeners.
Thank you. Thank you, David. I'm going to ask you, if you allow me, one final question. It might be the most difficult question of this conversation. But if you could say one thing directly to Barry G today, what would it be?
Thank you, Barry. I loved you for your work. I loved you for making me feel so welcome in Jamaica. And I will never, ever, ever forget you.
Yeah. Well said. Well said, David. Thank you so much for these reflections.
Thank you, Richard.
Stay
Bye-bye.
strong.
Bye.
Stay strong.